If you're trying to use 4 times damage surge mods while also using the brand new Mask of Bakris rework, then this is the build for you. What's up guys, Twerk here, back again with another Destiny 2 video. Today's video is going to be for the hunters out there. Of course, we're going to be using the Mask of Bakris. It just got reworked this season, so we're going to be using that, while also freezing enemies and then making them explode and cause a chain reaction all at the same time. As always, I'll be going over every ability, aspect, and fragment, as well as armor mods and weapons that will work best with this build. And as always, the dim link will be down in the description below. And if you enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps me out tons. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Now let's dive right in. For this build, we will be using the Stasis subclass here, and of course my super ability is going to be Silence and Squall. You summon 2 Stasis items that are going to be doing completely different things. The first one here, you're going to create a Flash Freeze Blast, and it'll freeze and damage targets on impact. And then the second one, you're going to be able to create a Stasis Storm that slows and damages targets caught inside. For the abilities here, I chose to use Gambler's Dodge. That way, whenever you dodge, you can recharge your melee ability, which is going to be much more helpful here in this build. For the movement ability, I chose to use Triple Jump because this is the only one that I find not atrocious on Hunter. For the Stasis melee here, of course, the only one we have at the moment is going to be Withering Blade. You basically toss a Stasis shuriken at targets to damage them and slow them, and of course you get 2 charges with this, which is pretty nice. And for the Stasis grenade here, the one I chose to use was the Cold Snap grenade. That way I can freeze as many enemies as possible, thus making it obviously easier to kill everybody. For the aspects here, I have Touch of Winter, which basically makes our grenades have enhanced functionality. Of course, the grenade we're going to be using is the Cold Snap grenade, so Seeker creates a Stasis crystal on detonation and chains 1 additional time, which is going to be pretty nice here. And then secondly, for the aspects here, I'm going to have Grim Harvest, which defeating a slowed or frozen combatant creates Stasis shards, and these shards grant melee energy when you pick them up. Moving on now to the fragments here. Today I have 5 fragments. First one here is going to be Whisper of Headwinds. Dramatically increases weapon stability, weapon aim assist, weapon airborne effectiveness, mobility, resistance, and recovery after freezing a target with stasis. This one is going to be incredibly useful for us. Then we have Whisper of Refraction. Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants you class ability energy, which is going to be basically our whole build built around. Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this build. Then we have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. And then finally we have Whisper of Rhyme. Collecting a stasis shard grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting additional shards adds to the overshield and refreshes the timer. So this is going to be a really sweet way to get overshield. Up next, I'm going to recommend the stats here. Of course, first I'm going to be going with that tier 10 resilience. That way you get that 30% damage reduction. After that, I'm definitely going to recommend mobility because we are on Hunter, and unfortunately the Hunters rely on mobility. That way we can get our class ability cooldown as short as possible. Class ability cooldown is going to be very important for this build to make sure we get that damage buff. After that, I'm going to recommend Discipline here. That way we can get our grenades back as fast as possible to be able to freeze targets as much as we can. Now we're going to go to the part where I talk about the artifact mods here. I will say for this season, there's really not that many artifact mods that I could find to really boost this build up. So with this, I'll say no artifact mods. Go crazy, do whatever you want. There's not a whole lot that matter. However, now we move on to the armors and the armor mods here, so I will be going over everything that I chose to use. Of course, always starting with the head, this is where our exotic slot lies. It's going to be Mask of Bakris here. The armor perk here is going to be Light Shift. Replaces your Stasis subclass dodge ability with a longer range, faster moving shift that particularly cloaks you during use. After shifting, your stasis and arc weapons deal an increased damage for a short amount of time. This has a stack of 4 damage surge mods. It doesn't stack with other surge mods, but this is how you can get even more damage output than the surge mods on your legs. For the armor mods here, I chose to use the Arc Siphon mod because I will be using an arc weapon as my secondary. And then of course here I have 2 special ammo finders because I'm using 2 special ammo weapons with this build. Next up, as we move on to the arms here, I'm going to say that I chose Bolstering Detonation, which grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Focusing Strike, which grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a melee attack. and then momentum transfer, which causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. So these three here are basically so I can get my abilities back faster to then be able to feed into my class ability. Onto the chest piece here, I chose to use Concussive Dampener, which just reduces incoming area effect damage from combatants. Here you can kind of swap it out for whatever other resist mod you want to use. And then we have Harmonic Resistance, which reduces incoming stasis damage from combatants. Here again, you can use it really with whatever. That's just kind of what I had points left over. And then this one I would say is pretty important. Harmonic Reserves increases the amount of ammo you can carry for stasis weapons. We are using 2 stasis weapons here, one going to be special, one going to be heavy, so this is pretty important in my opinion. Now we move on to the legs here. Of course, we're running Recuperation, which replenishes health each time you pick up an Orb of Power. We have Insulation, which reduces class ability cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power to help us get our dodge back. And then of course, Stacks on Stacks. Picking up an Orb of Power grants you 1 additional stack of Armor Charge, which is going to be pretty important here for one of the perks we're going to be using on the Cloak, which of course is going to be Special Finisher. Finishers generate special ammo for the whole fire team, and it consumes 3 stacks of Armor Charge. Nothing else here is going to be using Armor Charge, so I put this one on. That way we'll be able to get special ammo since we're using 2 special guns. The other class mods here I have are going to be Powerful Attraction, which automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. And then we have the Reaper mod. After using your class ability, your next weapon, Final Blow, spawns an orb of power. So we're going to be making orbs like crazy with this. And then here I'm going to recommend the 3 weapons that I chose to use. You can swap it up a little bit, but this is what I found to be really fun to use. It's a little bit of a different playstyle than I usually do, and it worked great. For the first one here, of course, this is our exotic. We're going to be using Agger's Scepter, of course the Stasis Trace Rifle, and its intrinsic trait is going to be Agger's Call. Final blows with this weapon generate a slowing burst around the defeated target. This gun gets even better with the Catalyst here. You can drain super energy, overflowing the magazine and empowering the beam with bonus energy and ability to slow and freeze targets until the magazine or super energy runs out, or the weapon is stowed. Can only be activated when the super energy is full. So this is going to give you a great ability to do a lot of damage with this weapon here, and it's not even your main heavy weapon. For the second weapon here, I'm going to recommend Forbearance. Of course, this is going to be the Arc Grenade Launcher. I have mine crafted. I have Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction Enhanced. Makes it really good for exploding enemies and getting multi-kills. And then lastly, for my heavy, I have my Palmyra B Rocket Launcher. This one is Stasis. I also have this crafted with auto loading and explosive light to get that extra damage boost on. And what's nice is about Mask of Bakris is every time you're going to be shifting or you're going to be using your dodge, you're going to get bonus damage to any of the weapons that we've talked about here. Overall, the gameplay loop is going to be incredibly easy here. All you need to do is use one of your abilities or use Agger's Scepter to freeze an enemy or freeze a group of enemies. After you see a lot of frozen enemies, you switch to your secondary, which is the Forbearance, and you're going to use your grenade launcher to blow them all up. Now, of course, if you're running into something like champions or just harder gold bar enemies, I like to use the rocket launcher because I feel like I get so much ammo that I don't really have to worry about conserving it. So if I see a big bad enemy and I don't want to have to, pepper it down with whatever else I have, I use a Palmyra. And if you want to get any bonus damage from any of the weapons that we just talked about, all you have to do is shift dodge. It's that easy. All in all, I think this is a very fun build. This is an incredibly unique build, and honestly, I don't really use anything like this usually. I don't even usually really play on Hunter that much, but this actually makes me want to play on Hunter a lot more. So if you're a Hunter main, or even if you're not a Hunter main, give this a try. It's definitely worth using. Just a reminder, like always, the dim link is down in the description below. And if you watched the video and you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It helps me grow a lot. And I definitely appreciate all the help and support you guys have given me lately. Stay to the channel like always. We got a lot more on the way. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.